And what is our definition of a flag? A flag is a gradual increasing of prices over time after a decline, in this case, a continuation pattern for a further decline in the market. We have a rounded top established with the top of this bar, 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 and the top of this bar. So it's a fairly broad rounded top here. In fact, we could even include this bar here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars here that are whose tops are very close to a very rounded, nice rounded pattern. Then prices declined and they formed a flag, which is a gradual increase of prices over time. Not particularly strong increase in prices, but just a gradual increase in prices after this large decline here. That gave us a clue, not only this rounded top, but this flag pattern gave us a clue that prices would probably continue to go to the downside. And they did. Again, we come into a pattern in which there is a gradual and steady increase in prices, forming another flag. Flags generally are a continuation pattern. And they don't have to be exactly at the highs of these bars or the lows of these bars. What you're trying to do is pick up the pattern, to understand the pattern. So after this pattern was established that there was a gradual increase in prices, you would have had an extremely high probability that prices would continue this downtrend again. And they did. Today, we had somewhat of a reversal day. In other words, we had an extremely strong up day in which there was high volume and high prices increased dramatically. In fact, the Dow Jones Industrials were up 201 points. Generally, a strong upthrust in prices like this indicates a strong market and perhaps a continuation of an uptrend. Now, we've had an uptrend here since around March 10th. We had an extremely strong up day here. And you can think of these strong up days with huge price movements as something like an energy blast, or fueling your car with premium fuel, really helping the market to blast off. And when we had that day, what we wanted to look for was a gradual decline of prices from that strong uptrend, because when you have a strong price increase like that in any stock or any indice, there are always people who are willing to sell their stocks at the high of that large up day. So over the next couple of days, what we do is we watch the prices very closely to see if a flag pattern will be forming. And in fact, it did. Again, these do not have to be exact. What you're looking for is a general pattern of declining, slowly declining prices over time. And that's exactly what happened. These were a bit wider than usual, but that's to be expected at a market bottom. This is really a market bottom here. And then prices did actually increase, pull back again, form another flag pattern, increase, form a tighter flag pattern, and break through that, but still established a higher low, and then increases in prices came again. Each time a price increase of a day or 2 or 3 days in a row was established, they had a slowly gradual pullback and a slow gradual pullback before prices continued again. Eventually, as you start to develop your eyesight, really your technical eyesight for these types of patterns, you'll be able to pick them up very, very quickly. You'll be able to see flags and patterns. And once you can see these, this is the very, very simplest form of technical analysis that really works. These types of flag patterns are the easiest to recognize forms of continuation patterns in the market. So where we are right now, we have a very strong update today on pretty good volume. So we're going to be hoping here that it will continue to increase in price. However, what we're looking for to establish long positions is a gradual pullback in prices, just like they did here, or they did here, or they did here, or they did here, or they did here. We're looking for those gradual pullback in prices so that we can establish a long position. Let's go back a little bit further and see this in other types of markets. Going back to July of 2007, you can see that we established at that time what was to be a very large uptrend in the market. We had a huge run up in prices here, and we had a flag. Instead of drawing two lines, I'm only going to draw a single line from now on, just to make it a little bit easier. But you can begin to see these flag patterns develop. Once you begin to see a number of these flag patterns, it's a pretty safe idea, as long as you have higher lows, to begin establishing long positions in this area. If that was the type of trading that you wanted to do. You can see that almost all the way up, these flags were established, and once the flag was broken through, the continuation of the uptrend continued. Now this pattern was a little bit different. It was just a sideways pattern. However, it's still considered a flag pattern. And you can see that all of the patterns differ just a little bit. You know, some are extremely gradual like this one, some are sideways like this one, some are pretty deep like this one, some are a little bit deeper like this one here. This one was fairly short and narrow. This one was very much deeper. In fact, it was the beginning of a sign that maybe there was some trouble here in the market because of this rounding top. Although markets do not die very, very soon, there was, because of this rounding top here and the almost the breaking of this lower high here, you could have begun at that time to start to look for signs of deterioration in the market. Here's another rounding top, another rounding top, another rounding top. Rounding tops don't necessarily mean that the market will decline right after a rounding top, but it is a way for us, remember, to determine the probability of a future price movement. If prices had broken below the prior lows of these, and each time it broke below these prior lows, you'd have a more established downtrend in place. But these rounding tops, every time the market moved up a little bit higher, was a warning that perhaps something was happening in the market and that prices would drop dramatically.